Discover the incredible secret to make him realize he needs you back even while with someone else. Sarah Kelly wiped the last bit of pancake batter from the counter, heart heavy as she gazed at the empty booths of the cozy corner diner. This place was more than just wood and bricks, it had been her father's love letter to their small Midwestern town. The walls were peppered with happy memories and the smell of coffee was a warm embrace. But now, it felt like the diner's heartbeat was fading, just like the love she once had not just for the diner but for the boy she poured her heart into, Mark. Every morning, she opened the diner, determined to rekindle the spirit that once made it so beloved. Yet, all she heard were whispers. The locals who used to come in droves now stayed home, reminiscing about the days when Mark would walk in, ready to charm the room. Anger bubbled inside her. How could he leave for a swanky life in the city and forget the roots that nurtured him? She set down a steaming cup of coffee, the liquid swirling as she ground her teeth. The bitterness choked her, it was more than just the taste. "Hey, Sarah." It was Mrs. Thompson, her regular, with a smile that wilted when Sarah met her gaze. "You know people love the cozy corner. We just miss Mark. He made it special." Those words cut deep, even deeper than the bills piling up at home. The diner wasn't just a job, it was her father's legacy, and Mark had been a part of that. Her heart squeezed painfully, tightening like a vice. She couldn't afford to let those memories drown her. Determined to breathe new life into the diner, Sarah decided to host open mic nights, showcasing local talent. She hung up colorful posters on telephone poles, her heart racing with desperation and hope. As the first night approached, she felt electricity in the air. People began pouring in, laughter echoing off the walls again. Like a salve, music filled the space and warmed her spirit. It felt good to reclaim her diner, to turn it into something vibrant again. But just as she felt solid ground beneath her feet, the door swung open, and in walked Mark, looking sharper than ever. Her breath caught, and the memories flooded in like a tidal wave. "Sarah," he smiled, that boyish grin igniting old feelings from a decade ago. "Hey," she managed, voice trembling. He leaned against the counter, the whole place dimmed around them, as if only they existed in that moment. "I've been thinking about investing in your diner." The offer hung heavily, a chocolate cake on the counter that she could never quite eat. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The warmth that surrounded them was unraveling, an unbearable script of nostalgia and anger refusing to fade. Her heart raced as she wrestled with the thrill and reluctance of rekindling old flames while wanting nothing more than to lay her father's legacy bare and strong. "Mark, I don't know." The word slipped. Prior worries clawed at her, reminding her of tight-knit community loyalty. Could she trust him again? Would this be another moment of betrayal or an opportunity reborn? As Mark's eyes shimmered with hope, Sarah stood on the precipice of her past, heart pounding as the community's whispers swelled in her mind, and just as doubts started to cloud her resolve, the laughter-filled diner transformed into a whirlwind of possibilities. Would she let the stains of yesterday blur her vision, or would she seize the moment to reclaim not just the diner, but herself? The choices loomed like shadows on the horizon, and as Sarah met Mark's gaze, her future felt as uncertain and inviting as the diner that lay ahead, laughter melding seamlessly with the bittersweet echoes of love lost. Sarah's heart thudded like a drum, not just from surprise, but from an onslaught of conflicting emotions. "Why now, Mark?" The words came out sharper than she intended, but they captured the frustration building inside her. His expression softened. "I've missed this place, Sarah. I've missed us." Everything in the city felt empty. The vulnerability in his voice pulled at her heartstrings, reminding her of countless nights under the stars, shared dreams, and the laughter that once danced through their lives. Did you only realize this when things got rough for you? She regretted the bite in her tone, but his sudden appearance felt like a dagger ripping the fabric of her fragile equilibrium. They had been happy once, but so much had changed. His absence felt like an unhealed wound, deep and raw. Mark sighed, running a hand through his hair, an unconscious gesture of stress. It's not just about the diner or about me. I thought I had to choose something different, something more glamorous. But I lost my way. The weight of his confession hung between them. Could she truly believe him? This moment felt like a game of tender memories and fresh scars, precariously balanced. Sarah, I can help you, he pressed, his eyes flickering with urgency. With the diner, with saving it. I know things are tough, but together. The thought of combining their lives again sent a shiver down her spine, part excitement, part fear. What if this was just a phase for him? A fleeting moment in his life's timeline, while she remained anchored in the present, grappling with the very real chance of losing her father's dream. I don't know, Mark. This isn't just a diner to me. It's my family's history. Her voice cracked, the personal stakes illuminating every word. And you walked away. How can I be sure you won't do it again? He looked hurt but also determined. I understand. But I've changed. I want to be part of this, to build something together. What if we could make it even better than it was? A moment passed in heavy silence, the rhythm of the diner beat around them like a drum. She felt her resolve crumbling. What did she want? A part of her yearned to say yes, to invite him back into both her life and the diner. The whisper of hope flickered dangerously close to the flame of her trust issues. But just then, the door swung open again, and in walked a familiar face, Anna, her best friend. With a buoyant smile, she headed straight for Sarah. Hey! Wow, your open mic night is packed. Sounds like a great start. The energy shifted as Anna noticed Mark leaning against the counter, clearly uncomfortable. Sarah's mind raced. This was going to get complicated fast. Hi, Mark, Anna said, the lilt of her voice paying no mind to the tension hanging in the air. I didn't expect to see you back here. Sarah's heart sank deeper. Anna's cheerful tone completely contrasted her inner turmoil. Could she open the door to a second chance with Mark and still manage the expectations of their shared community? Mark's eyes darted between them, and Sarah felt the pressure of the moment press heavier against her chest. The laughter of her patrons clashed sharply with her heart, beckoning her to take a leap of faith, yet begging for caution. The uncertainty was palpable. Would she gamble her heart on someone who had already left her once? As Anna leaned in, a teasing grin spreading across her face, Sarah hesitated. This crossroads felt monumental, and the next words she spoke could change everything. Mark, maybe it's not just about the diner. We need to talk, she whispered, the tremble of her voice revealing the enormity of the decision ahead, but just as she steeled herself for the conversation, the lights flickered. Let us pray that's not a sign, Anna joked lightly. Sarah wanted to laugh but felt a chill in the air. What if that flicker was just the beginning of the changes about to unfold? As they all turned to the window, the sun setting, Sarah realized her future hung in the balance once again. Would she really invite him back into her heart? The shadows drew closer, and the question echoed in her mind, was love worth the chance of pain again? Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment press down on her shoulders. The flickering lights cast shadows that danced like the tumult inside her heart. She looked at Anna and then back at Mark, whose eyes held a mix of hope and hesitation. What do you mean, we need to talk? Anna asked, her voice softening as she sensed the undercurrent of tension. There was a knowing look between her and Mark, making Sarah feel exposed, as if her innermost struggles were being paraded in front of everyone. It's about the diner, it's about us, Sarah managed, her voice wavering slightly. She glanced toward the patrons in the diner, the laughter and music swirling around them, contrasting sharply with the seriousness of the conversation brewing in her corner. The back lights reflectively dimmed once more, adding to the charged atmosphere. Us? Mark echoed, his tone cautious yet ignited with curiosity. Here? Now? Yes, Mark. Now. Because we can't keep pretending everything is fine. The words felt like a lifeboat in turbulent waters. She could feel herself drifting between desire and trepidation, the two pulling her in different directions. I understand, he replied, sincerity etched into every feature of his face. I know that I messed up before. But being here, talking to you, it just makes me realize how much I want to fight for what we had. Anna shifted, now acutely aware of the complexity of the moment. Sarah, you know I'm here for you no matter what. But you need to decide if you're ready to open that door again with him. It's your choice. Her supportive tone hinted at the weight of Sarah's heartache, urging her to tread carefully. I don't want to get hurt again. You left, Mark. I can't pretend like that didn't happen. The tears threatened to spill over, pooling just behind her lashes. It wasn't just about their love, it was about trust, vulnerability, and the fear of losing a piece of herself again. Mark stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper, I know. And I don't blame you for feeling that way. But I swear to you, this time is different. I'm not the same man who walked out that door. I've grown. The confidence in his voice fueled a small flicker of hope in her chest. She searched his eyes for any sign of doubt and found only determination. Yet, uncertainty still cloaked her like a heavy fog. Would giving him a second chance drag her into the same abyss of disappointment? Just remember, Anna chimed in gently, it's about you and what you need. This diner means everything to you, and you have to decide if you can balance your heart along with your family's legacy. Her words hung in the air, and Sarah felt the truth in them. The diner was more than just a business, it was her family's history woven into its very fabric. It was laughter around tables and memories captured in every corner. Could she really intertwine that history with a possible future with Mark? Mark's voice broke through her thoughts again. Sarah, let me help you. Together, we can make the diner thrive. We can heal. Treading the thin line between hope and fear, Sarah took a step back. But can we heal together? Or will this be another scar, another wound that won't fully close? Mark's brow furrowed, the vulnerability returning to his eyes. The hum of chatter and the sounds of glasses clinking faded into background noise as they stood on the precipice of something new. Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon, splashing the sky with colors that mirrored her conflicting emotions: passion, uncertainty, and a flicker of hope. Just then, the lights flickered again, casting one final glow across their faces. Sarah felt the looming storm, the dread of uncertainty and excitement mixed together. What if things go wrong again? She whispered, the words barely leaving her lips. Then we face it together, he said, the conviction in his voice setting off tiny sparks in her heart, but before Sarah could respond, the door swung open once more, and a group of familiar faces entered. The moment shifted instantly as laughter rose in the diner, pulling her focus from Mark. The evening took on a life of its own, bearing the question of how she would navigate this new, complicated scenario. Every emotion swirled dangerously close to the surface. Would she choose to let her heart lead the way again? Or would she keep it guarded, protecting herself from a potential heartbreak that loomed in the shadows? And as the music swelled, vibrant and full, she realized the real question sat heavy in her heart: could love truly transcend the fear, or would it demand a price she wasn't ready to pay? The commotion from the new arrivals filled the diner, laughter and chatter washing over Sarah like a wave. She felt the tension slip slightly, though not completely easing the grip of fear in her chest. The familiar faces belonged to a group of old friends from high school, people she'd shared long nights and dreams with. They maneuvered through tables, their laughter ringing out in buoyant chords, momentarily lifting Sarah's spirits. Sarah! Over here! Ella, her former cheerleading captain, called, waving with enthusiastic abandon. Sarah smiled, but her heart was still caught in the in-between of feelings for Mark and the weight of her responsibilities. As Ella and the rest of the group settled in the booth nearby, Sarah could feel their energy pulsing through the diner. They belted out stories from years past, updates on life and laughter, a missed opportunity that seemed so far away now. "Are you coming to our reunion next week?" Ella asked, smiling brightly. "We need you, Sarah. The diner will always hold a special place for everyone." Another pang of nostalgia hit. The diner meant everything to her and to them, yet that same love felt tied to her complicated feelings towards Mark. She thought of every late-night slice of pie, every birthday celebrated, and every broken heart healed within those walls. "Yeah, I think I will," Sarah found herself saying, and as the words left her mouth, she saw a flicker of something in Mark's eyes, the shadow of disappointment, perhaps. "You should. There's always a place for you in our crew," Anna chimed in, her reassuring smile bringing warmth back into Sarah's spirit. "Reconnect with them. It might help put things in perspective." "Right," Mark interjected, though his tone felt strained. "It could be good for you." His voice wavered, casting a delicate fog around his intentions. Sarah glanced at him, trying to read his expression. Was he genuinely supportive, or was it an attempt to mask his own insecurities? Their history made trust complicated. The chatter continued around them. Ella turned to Mark. "You still working at that startup? How's that going?" "Yes, it's been a lot of hard work," Mark replied, his usual smile fading slightly when Sarah's gaze met his. Noticing the subtle shift in the mood, Anna leaned closer, offering support. "You know, Sarah needs people around her who understand what she's going through." Times like these her voice trailed off, but the implication hung thick in the air. It's hard," Mark said, rubbing the back of his neck, a sign of his own fortitude faltering. "I want to be part of Sarah's journey, but..." His words echoed through Sarah's mind. It was a reminder that despite everything, their connection was still a fragile thread, hovering in midair. But in that very moment, she caught the glimmer of determination in his eyes as he looked at her. Was he willing to stand by her during this transformative time? "Mark," she started, unsure how to articulate the whirlpool of emotions within her. But just as those words began to form, the diner doors swung open again, and in stepped their high school rival, Julia, flanked by new friends. Julia, with her poised confidence and striking presence, rapidly became the center of attention. As Julia engaged the group, Sarah felt the familiar twinge of jealousy mixed with awe. It wasn't only about Mark. It was the realization that others had moved on to creating new lives while she stood still in a whirlwind of choices. The laughter subsided briefly, and silence filled the air as Julia glanced toward their booth with an expression Sarah couldn't quite place. It was then that Sarah felt those pulsating questions return with a vengeance. Will you fight for your past, or will you step into the unknown? She thought to herself, the answer trapped somewhere in the depths of her heart. Could she bridge the gap between her memories and her future? Amidst the chaos and nostalgia stirring in the diner, the moment slipped away like sand through her fingers, bringing her to the edge of a decision weighing heavily on her heart. It was a dance of vulnerability, and just as she might reach for clarity, would she lose everything she held dear in the process? The chatter resumed in the diner, but Sarah felt a concrete wall forming around her. The laughter that once warmed her now echoed distantly, like a fading whisper. Her eyes locked on Julia. The way she effortlessly commanded attention drew unwanted attention to Sarah's own insecurities. A woman who'd crafted the life that Sarah sometimes envied. "Look who it is," came Julia's voice, smooth and teasing, snapping Sarah from her thoughts. The legend herself. A light ripple of laughter swept through their booth. Julia approached with her usual confidence, flanked by friends in chic outfits, their energy buzzing like a swarm of fireflies. "Trying to reminisce while clinging to childhood dreams, I see." "Hey, Julia." Ella greeted with forced cheerfulness. The air thickened, as if the diner itself was holding its breath. "Good to see you, Sarah," Julia said, her tone sweet yet edged with something sharper. "Heard you're still at the diner. Some things never change." "Yeah, some things do," Sarah replied, daring to meet Julia's gaze. It felt like a challenge, a fence separating them. In an instant, Mark was on his feet. "We were just catching up. It's good to see everyone." His voice carried a protective undertone, the kind that made Sarah's heart flutter. But then she remembered, they were teetering on unsteady ground. "Of course, Mark." Julia beamed, undeterred. "But Sarah, girl, what about life outside these four walls? You've got that whole world waiting for you. Or maybe you're just too afraid to take a step." Her words landed hard, digging into the soft places Sarah kept carefully hidden. She glanced at Mark, waiting for his reaction, her heart thumping like a drum. "Julia, that's not fair," Mark said, his brow creasing. "You've got no idea what she's been." Sarah reached for his arm, desperate to calm the brewing storm. "It's fine, Mark. I can handle it." "Really?" But inside, she felt rattled. Was Julia right? Had she become trapped, letting the diner veil her future? She was supposed to be the star of her own story, not a spectator. As Julia exchanged playful banter with her friends, promising tales of their new lives, Sarah turned inward. Memories flickered like an old film reel: the Friday night games, the laughter, the heartache. "Sarah." Mark's voice cut through. Maybe you should consider what you want." His words hung between them, heavy with possibility. What did she want? The past was comforting, but the repercussions of staying there felt suffocating. "Want me to show you around our old haunts?" Ella suggested, nudging Sarah's shoulder, rescuing her momentarily from spiraling thoughts. "Sure. That sounds great," Sarah replied, though uncertainty clung to her. A part of her wanted to dive into that nostalgia, while another part whispered about embracing what lies ahead. The crowd slowly shifted focus back to their conversations, yet Sarah felt magnetized to the moment. The thought of fleeing the diner and venturing into the past both thrilling and terrifying. As the laughter filled the air once again, Julia's easy banter slipped into the background. Sarah realized she didn't just want to reclaim her past, she wanted to forge her future. And that meant making a choice: hold on to what she knew or take a leap into the unknown. But the weight of uncertainty gripped her anew. The layers of her emotions were woven tightly together with her memories of Mark and the looks they shared, the hints he dropped. Her heart raced as she contemplated what sharing the reunion with him would entail. Would he see her for who she truly was outside the diner's walls, or was this connection just another thread in the fabric of their complicated history? "Hey Sarah," Mark's voice broke her concentration once more. "What do you think?" She looked at him, bracing herself for the truth she would have to confront, and for a fleeting moment, hope sparked again. But before she could reply, Julia seized the opportunity, her laughter ringing out, "Or maybe it's just time to realize some stories are better left behind." And suddenly, Sarah's future felt like a tightrope walk. Challenging and exhilarating. Would she finally take the plunge and fight for her path, or was she about to let the fear of the unknown pull her back into familiar shadows? The decision loomed before her, a threshold to cross, a moment that would decide everything. Would she take a stand, no matter the cost? As Sarah stood at the edge of that choice, the diner around her blurred, and she felt the world pause, waiting for her answer. Time hung heavy with anticipation, and she knew the moment of truth was drawing near. The clattering of dishes and the low hum of conversations wrapped around Sarah like a thick fog. Thoughts swirled in her mind while Julia's taunting voice echoed, a painful reminder of all she was struggling to confront. Could she really take that leap? Mark's eyes searched hers, a flicker of concern crossing his face. It was as if he sensed the internal battle raging within her. "Sarah, you've got to decide what you want," he pressed, his voice gentle yet firm. She opened her mouth to answer, feeling the weight of his gaze, but each word failed to escape. Instead, her heart thudded louder, drowning out her thoughts. She wanted to scream that she was tired of feeling stuck, tired of being compared, tired of being just another fixture in this diner. "Let us go," Ella chirped, breaking the heavy silence. Before Sarah could grasp the moment, Ella took her hand and led her away from the booth. Mark stepped in quickly, falling in line beside them. As they moved toward the door, Sarah's heart raced. The air outside felt free and alive, a stark contrast to the heavy atmosphere within those diner walls. The familiar sights of their old neighborhood flooded back: the faded murals, the cracked sidewalks, the feeling of home they all once thrived in. "Remember that time we snuck into the old playground at midnight?" Ella laughed, her voice lifting the weight slowly hanging around them. "Yeah, until Mrs. Henderson caught us." Mark chuckled, a warm smile breaking across his face. A smile crept onto Sarah's lips, mingling with nostalgia. This felt good, odd, but good. The fear that had coated her heart was slowly peeling away, revealing something bright and unrefined beneath. Could this be a chance to rediscover herself? They meandered aimlessly, voices trailing behind them like leaves in the wind. Sarah relished the feeling of freedom, but each step seemed to remind her of the shadows waiting in the diner's corners, shadows that included Julia's sharp laughter and the unanswered questions that flickered in Mark's eyes. "Hey," Mark said, breaking her reverie once more. "How about we swing by that old ice cream spot? Nothing's better than a scoop of mint chocolate chip on a hot day." "Oh yes. That'll take us back," Ella chimed in brightly. As they walked, Sarah struggled to shake off the heavy anchor of doubt tugging at her. What if the life she dreamed of finding out there never came? What if she let them down again? But just then, a flicker of determination sparked. She might be afraid, but she could not let that fear define her. She could no longer linger in shadows. "Let us do it," Sarah finally said, the words forming a solid conviction in her chest. The thrill of possibility pulsed beneath her skin. Perhaps claiming her life meant embracing both the past she cherished and the future she feared. As they approached the ice cream shop, the familiar bell jingled softly at their entrance. The lingering scent of waffle cones filled the air, wrapping Sarah tighter in nostalgia. She could almost taste it, the moment of sweet escape. "Sarah?" Mark's voice sliced through her thoughts again. She turned to face him, grasping the moment's urgency. "What?" "First round's on me, but I want to hear what you really want. Let us not dance around it anymore." His eyes bore into hers, unwavering, daring her to take the chance. She gulped, thoughts racing. Was this her moment to speak her truth, her desire for more than fleeting childhood memories? Craving to forge her path forward while keeping their bond intact, but just before she could muster the words, the ice cream shop door swung open, and a familiar face stepped inside, disrupting the fragile tension. Julia, radiant and poised, as if she had been waiting for just this moment. Time froze as Sarah's heartbeat thundered in her ears. The weight of her decision hung in the air again, amplified by Julia's presence. Would she stand strong or let her past overwhelm her choices? In that heartbeat, Sarah understood the choice before her was truly not just hers alone. It cascaded toward everyone she cared about. And so, she took a breath. Steeling herself against the tide, the moment felt electric, each heartbeat a reminder of the truth she had to confront. Her future was not just an echo of the past, it was waiting, vivid and bright. Would she step into it, even now, just as Julia barrels into her life again with undeniable confidence? The question lingered in the air, heavy with the promise of choices yet to come. The bell jangled sharply above the ice cream shop door, cutting through the thick air between Sarah and Julia. Julia's presence had the power to shift the entire atmosphere, just as her laughter filled the once quiet space. "Hey, Sarah!" Julia called cheerfully, her voice sweet like a melody but with a hint of something sharper beneath. Sarah's heart raced like a runaway train. She hadn't prepared for this moment, a confrontation hanging in the air so thick she could almost taste it. Julia strolled over, laughter trailing behind her like a festive banner, ignoring the electric tension that clung to Sarah and Mark. "Is this an old friend's reunion I wasn't invited to?" Julia's smile lit up the room, infectious to some, but to Sarah? It felt like ice water pouring down her back. We just came for ice cream," Sarah stammered, trying to reclaim her composure. "Right. Everyone loves a trip down memory lane with their favorite flavors," Julia replied, her chipper facade resolutely intact. "I guess the more, the merrier. Mark, care to join me?" Mark looked from Julia to Sarah, sensing the brewing storm. Sarah caught the confusion on his face, his desire to help clashing with the desire to stay neutral. "Actually, I was just no need to be shy." Julia interrupted, her laughter ringing out. "We can all enjoy some ice cream together." Her eyes held a challenge, a dare to Sarah that felt impossible to resist. "Sure, why not?" Sarah replied, her heart pounding in her chest. She was caught in a whirlwind, unsure which way to turn. As she stepped to the counter, Sarah felt Julia's gaze latch onto her. A familiar knot in her stomach tightened. Julia always had a way of flaunting her success, her perception of self-assurance shimmering brightly, almost blinding. "Sarah, did you hear about my recent promotion?" Julia continued, confidence spilling over. "I'm sure you're happy for me." "Yeah, that's great," Sarah managed to say, her voice small. "Wasn't it always like this?" Standing in Julia's shadow, where her accomplishments felt like fleeting sparks against a raging fire. Mark reached for her hand, his warmth bringing her a momentary thaw. "We need to figure out what we want, remember?" His eyes bore into hers, a steady anchor amid the chaos. "I'm okay, really," Sarah assured him, but Julia's teasing smirk urged her to challenge the facade. "Come on, what do you want to do with your life, Sarah?" Julia pressed, her tone sugar-coated yet sharp. That question hung in the air like a balloon, swelling with expectations and memories. It was the opening Sarah had both feared and yearned for. She could just say it out loud, confess what had burrowed itself in her heart for so long. But the fear gripped her throat, stifling her voice. "No need to put pressure on her," Mark said, an edge creeping into his tone. He squared his shoulders, ready to defend Sarah, but with it came the risk of escalating the conflict. "Why not?" Julia purred, taking a step closer. "Isn't that what friends do? They help each other figure things out?" In that moment, everything flickered. The weight of her indecision crashed against her like a tidal wave, and Sarah took a shuddering breath. Could she really respond to the challenge laid before her? What if she spoke her truth, bared her heart? What if it turned ugly? Before she could answer, like a revelation breaking through the fog, Sarah realized she owed this to herself. "What I want," she began, her voice wavering but resolute. The air crackled with significance, old ties pulling tight against new choices. Was Julia's confidence a mask? Did it hide a flicker of insecurity like her own? But just as Sarah summoned the courage to find her voice, a sharp vibration pierced through the silence. Mark's phone buzzed insistently in his pocket. "Sorry, I need to take this," he said, his expression apologetic. He stepped away to answer, leaving Sarah alone with Julia, the silence returning as heavy as before, and then, in that small, charged moment, Sarah felt Julia's analyzing stare. The question hung between them again, waiting. Would she choose to rise above? Break free of the past that threatened to hold her down? As Julia crossed her arms, the challenge stiffened in the air. In this pivotal moment, Sarah began to understand that the true battle was not just against Julia, but the one within herself. Would she stand her ground? Or would she fall back into the shadows? The question lingered, heavy and pregnant with possibilities. Only one choice remained to be made. Her future was waiting, and the tension simmered like ice cream melting under the summer sun. Sarah took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing heart. The ice cream shop, with its cheerful decor and the sweet scent of waffle cones, felt like a world away from the storm brewing within her. Julia's unwavering gaze made it hard to think straight. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Sarah finally managed to ask, her voice slightly louder than she intended. "Like what?" Julia's smile was too wide, a Cheshire grin that promised mischief. "I'm just curious about what you want out of life. You know, seeing you here with Mark, it's easy to see you've settled into a comfortable little corner." That word "settled" stung. Sarah felt the heat rise in her cheeks. "Is that so bad?" She shot back, her defensiveness flaring. "Not everyone wants to chase after every opportunity that comes their way." Julia tilted her head, the mock sympathy dripping from her words. "Oh, sweetie, I didn't mean it like that. It's just," she trailed off, scanning the shop like she was picking out flavors. "Sometimes I think you play it safe because you're afraid of the risks. Life is too short to just coast along." A half-laugh escaped Sarah's mouth. "Easy for you to say, right? You've always had a clear path." "You mean because I work hard for what I deserve?" Julia's tone shifted, her confidence transforming into a slight bite. "Success doesn't come easy, Sarah." Mark's voice snapped Sarah back to focus as he walked over, slipping his phone back into his pocket. "Everything okay?" he asked, glancing between them. "Just catching up on what Sarah wants to do with her future," Julia replied, winking at Mark. "Right, Sarah?" Sarah swallowed hard, refusing to let Julia's jab take root. She didn't need validation from Julia. Mark's presence was grounding, but deep inside her, a flicker of doubt sparked. "You know what? I want to write," she finally said, feeling the words rush out like air breaking through a dam. "I want to tell stories that matter." Julia raised an eyebrow, a smirk teasing the corners of her lips. "Oh? Stories? Well, that's cute. But let me ask you this: how do you plan on making that a reality? It's tough out there." The challenge hung in the air, and for a fleeting moment, Sarah's mind ran wild with ideas she'd shoved aside for far too long. The stories she held back, the characters she'd dreamed of bringing to life, they were parts of her she'd hidden. "I'll figure it out," Sarah replied, her voice stronger now. Perhaps it was the rising tide within, but she felt conviction swell in her chest. "Figure it out?" Julia laughed lightly, but Sarah caught the slight tremor of uncertainty beneath her humor. "You can't just figure it out. You have to plan. Be strategic. This isn't a game." "Maybe not, but it's my life," Sarah shot back, the fire inside her igniting. Mark smiled proudly, his support palpable. "And for once, I'm going to take a risk, Julia. I'm going to chase what I want." Julia's expression faltered for a moment, the mask slipping just a fraction. "Good luck with that," she said, placing extra emphasis on good. But Sarah didn't listen. Her focus shifted back to herself, the clarity washing over her. Mark's hand squeezed hers reassuringly, pulling her from the fray. The warmth of his touch solidified her resolve. "You really mean that?" he asked, his eyes alight with admiration. "Yeah, I do." She felt the truth resonate within her. Then, glass doors swung open, and in walked a couple, laughter preceding their entrance. They were vibrant and happy, and just behind them stood someone familiar. "Is that?" Sarah started, squinting toward the newcomers, heart racing anew. "Yes," Mark said, his voice barely above a whisper. A chill swept through her, catching her off guard. Standing right there was Ben, her first love. He was grinning at Julia as if they shared a secret, and suddenly those questions about her life, her choices, felt heavier than ever. Had he moved on? Did he think about her still? As he turned, his gaze met hers. Time slowed, and she could feel the world close in with a dizzying rush. Would this encounter change everything? The question danced in her mind, and she Couldn't he shake the feeling that it was leading her somewhere pivotal? Sarah's breath caught in her throat as Ben's smile lingered. It was as if the world around her faded to gray while his presence illuminated everything. The once familiar flutter of excitement now twisted into confusion and regret. "Hey," Ben finally said, voice warm, filled with that playful charm she remembered all too well. "Ben," she replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Memories flooded back, first dates on moonlit streets, late-night talks that stretched into dawn. Julia cleared her throat, disrupting the moment. "Remember Sarah? From high school?" Ben's eyes shifted between the two women. "Of course. Wow, it's been a while." Mark's grip on Sarah's hand tightened. She wanted to pull away, to retreat into the safety of her own thoughts, but there was a tension in the air that held her captive. "What are you doing here?" Sarah asked. Even to her own ears, the question felt edged with nerves. "Just grabbing some ice cream. Tracy here was dying for a treat." He gestured toward the woman beside him, who waved cheerfully. "And how about you? Still writing those stories?" "Actually, I'm trying to get back into it." The admission felt like both a confession and a claim of her identity. "Good for you," Ben replied, genuine warmth in his voice, but Sarah felt an undercurrent she couldn't quite grasp. "I always thought you had a knack for it." A hint of pride surged within her, but it was quickly swallowed by anxiety. "Yeah, well, we all grow up, don't we?" Julia interjected, her tone a mix of teasing and judgment, her eyes narrowing slightly. "True enough," Ben said, and his gaze returned to Sarah. "So, what kind of stuff are you writing?" "I'm not sure yet," she shrugged, feeling small in front of him. "Still figuring it out. Seems you and I are both in the same boat." Ben chuckled, but the laugh didn't reach his eyes. "Still working the same boring job?" "Not boring," Tracy piped up, nudging him playfully. "He just likes to set the bar low." Ben rolled his eyes as the couple shared a laugh. The laughter made Sarah's heart ache with memories of the past, but it was the look Ben threw her way that made her chest tighten. It held a mixture of nostalgia and something else. Was it longing? "You've always been great at storytelling, you know that?" he continued, his voice softer now. "I wouldn't be surprised if you went places with it." "Thanks, that means a lot coming from you," Sarah managed, feeling her heart flutter. "I just wish you would I don't know, taken more chances back then." He looked away momentarily, as if the weight of the memories crushed them both into silence. Suddenly, the warmth that defined Mark's presence felt more like a tether. He stood there, watching the exchange, his expression unreadable. Sarah glanced at him, hoping to gauge his feelings. Was he uncomfortable? Jealous? "Let us get going, babe," Mark finally said, breaking the spell of the moment. "I'm not really into ice cream anyway." "Right." Sarah felt a rush of anxiety. What was she doing? Did she want to slip back into the past or chase the uncertain future she'd begun to envision? As they turned to leave, Ben called after her, "Hey, let me know when you want to grab coffee sometime. We should catch up." Yeah, okay." The words slipped from her lips before she could process the significance. Stepping through the glass doors, the afternoon sun was blinding. Mark turned to her, concern etched across his face. "Are you all right?" he asked, the warmth of his voice grounding her. "I think so," was her hesitant reply. But deep inside, she felt split, one part of her anchored by the past, while the other craved the future. Was she ready to confront the choices that lay before her? Would she risk it all to rediscover herself, even if it meant facing Ben again? As they walked away, the thrill of uncertainty buzzed within her, setting the stage for what lay ahead. There were choices to be made, and perhaps this was just the beginning of something entirely new. The sun dipped lower, casting a golden glow on the streets of the small town as Sarah stood outside the ice cream shop, her thoughts racing. Mark beside her became her anchor, a comforting presence amidst the whirlwind of emotions that had just surged with Ben's arrival. Every laugh shared with her old friends echoed a question in her mind: where did she truly belong? "Are you still okay?" Mark asked gently, tilting his head to gauge her reaction. For a moment, everything fell away: Ben, Julia, the shadows of her past, and Sarah caught herself lost in Mark's deep, expressive eyes. Caught in a moment of honesty, she felt a pull, like they were the only two people on earth. "I'm okay, Mark. I just have a lot to think about," she answered softly. With a sigh, he stepped closer, their shoulders brushing. "Let's take a walk. I want to hear what you really want, Sarah. Not just what you think I want to hear, or what Julia expects you to say." The sincerity in his voice wrapped around her like a warm blanket. Something stirred inside her. "I guess I want to be honest with myself." Her heart raced, thoughts spilling out like the scooters of summer children. "This diner, my stories, it's all tied to who I am. But with Ben here, it makes me question everything." Mark took a deep breath, nodding as they walked. "Look, I know it's complicated. But you can't let those memories box you in. You need to reclaim what's yours. It's your life, Sarah." Each word felt like a spark, igniting courage within her. This wasn't just a chance to decide about the diner or about Ben, it was about defining her own story. As they turned the corner, Sarah spotted the cozy corner diner ahead, glowing with warmth from its windows, calling her home in a way she hadn't felt in too long. "You really think I can make this work?" she asked, vulnerability creeping into her voice. Uncertainty threaded the air, binding them together in a fragile moment of hope. "Absolutely. You're the heart of this place, and you deserve to chase your dreams." His determination was infectious, and Sarah felt the weight of doubt lift a little. "But you have to make that choice. I can't do it for you." He paused, so much sincerity in those deep brown eyes. "If you want something more, go for it. Don't hold back." Standing in front of the diner, Sarah closed her eyes, visualizing each cherished memory that filled those walls. Each laughter, every heartache, every story. She took a deep breath, and with that inhalation, she tapped into the pulse of hope. The diner wasn't just her father's legacy, it was her voice, her canvas, and she refused to shrink back any longer. As she opened her eyes, determination radiated in her heart. "Let's do it," she declared, her voice steady and bright. "Open mic nights can evolve into something bigger. I want to turn this into a storytelling hub where everyone shares their dreams through music and words. It's time we all reclaim what we've lost." Mark's face lit up with admiration. "Now that's the Sarah I know. Let's work on this together." His enthusiasm surged through her, pushing her forward. "And as for Ben, if you want to meet him for coffee, that's your choice too. Whatever you decide, I'm here for it." For the first time in a long while, Sarah felt free. Free to explore who she was beyond the diner, beyond the shadows of the past. She glanced at Mark, his expression an unwavering beacon of support. "You make it sound so easy," she smiled, warmth filling her heart. "Because it is, once you let go of those fears," he said, squeezing her hand gently. As they stepped inside the diner, the familiar aroma of fresh coffee enveloping them like an old friend, Sarah couldn't help but smile. Laughter echoed around her, and in that moment, she felt a full heart, the bittersweet ache of what had been transforming into the thrill of what could be. Joy spread across her face, and her thoughts filled with anticipation. "Let's make this place thrive, Mark. Together." In that decision, not only did Sarah reclaim her life, but she also took a giant leap into the possible a finer tale awaited her, with the diner at its heart. As the music swelled around them and familiar faces lit up with energy, Sarah felt empowered. They were all waiting for this very moment. Looking around at her old friends, she realized they were all in it together, waiting for hope to blossom. And she knew one thing: she wasn't just going to write her story, she was going to live it, now, it's your turn. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that LL inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support, because every click counts. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending below. I want to hear your thoughts. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support means the world, and only true fans understand how vital it is. Let us spread the inspiration together.